I never thought a normal Friday shift would change my entire life. I was just doing my job, serving tables as always, when he walked in. Patrick Mahomes. But that wasn't the miracle. The miracle was what happened when he left. Emily was a 28-year-old waitress who worked at Mahomes Grill, a small but cozy restaurant located in a busy neighborhood of Kansas City. The place was famous for attracting all kinds of people, from local workers to curious tourists seeking authentic American cuisine. Emily dedicated herself to her job with a smile always on her lips, though deep down her life wasn't easy. As a single mother, Emily faced a huge challenge. Her son Ethan, 6 years old, was hospitalized due to a congenital heart condition that required urgent and very costly surgery. Emily's salary barely covered daily expenses, and the hospital bills kept piling up. Despite everything, she kept her faith and worked hard with the hope that some kind of miracle would happen. The routine at the restaurant started early. Emily set up the tables, prepared the atmosphere for customers, and always maintained a welcoming tone with everyone who came in. She was known for her kindness among regular customers, though the weight of her situation often showed in moments of distraction. That Friday morning, the day began like any other. The restaurant was lively, with the usual flow of customers. Emily served plates quickly, took orders, and exchanged jokes with the patrons. The manager, Mr. Davis, often praised her for her dedication, but he was also aware of the difficulties she faced. When the clock struck 12 o'clock p.m., a murmur began to spread through the dining room. Some customers stood up and whispered among themselves. Emily looked toward the door to see the cause of the commotion, and to her surprise, Patrick Mahomes, the famous NFL quarterback, walked into the restaurant, accompanied by some friends. The whole restaurant seemed to stop for a moment. Mahomes was a highly admired figure, and seeing a celebrity of his caliber in such a simple place was quite unusual. Emily, however, kept her composure, grabbed her notepad, and approached the table of the players with the same kind smile she always offered any customer. "Good afternoon. Welcome to Mahomes Grill. My name is Emily, and I'll be your waitress today. Would you like to start with something to drink?" Emily smiled. Mahomes returned the smile, polite and relaxed, and ordered for himself and his friends. The interaction was brief, but enough for Emily to notice how down-to-earth he was, different from the grand image often portrayed in the media. The service continued as normal, and Emily made sure to attend to Mahomes's table with the same care and attention she gave to everyone else. However, the presence of the players brought an atmosphere of excitement to the restaurant, with customers taking photos from a distance and whispering among themselves. Emily didn't imagine that this seemingly normal day would mark such a significant turning point in her life. A gesture that would change everything. The restaurant was packed during the lunch hour. Mahomes and his friends chatted animatedly while Emily stayed attentive to ensure they lacked nothing at the table. She was happy to serve the quarterback professionally, despite the pressure of curious stares and constant selfie requests from other customers. At one point, Mahomes raised his hand to call Emily. She approached quickly. "Everything okay?" she asked with a smile, instinctively holding her notepad. "Everything's excellent, thanks," responded Mahomes, looking at his friends before turning his attention to her. "We'd like to order dessert. Any recommendations?" Emily suggested the house-made desserts, highlighting the seasonal apple pie, which was the specialty of the house. Mahomes laughed and accepted the suggestion, ordering 4 slices for the table. As she returned to the counter to prepare the order, Emily couldn't help but think how surreal the day was, despite her life being full of difficulties. Serving Patrick Mahomes was a moment that would undoubtedly stay etched in her memory. After finishing dessert, Mahomes asked for the check. Emily brought the receipt quickly and handed it over with a smile. "Thanks for taking such good care of us, Emily. The service has been incredible," said Mahomes, looking her in the eyes with sincerity. She felt a bit embarrassed, but returned to the bar without giving it much thought. She was used to receiving compliments for her service, though she rarely felt valued enough in her routine. Minutes later, when Mahomes and his friends stood up to leave, Emily noticed he had left the payment and a small note on the table. Curious, she approached and picked up the paper. The message read, "Thanks for the wonderful service. May God bless you and your family." Along with the note was the payment for the meal. But when she counted the amount, Emily froze and widened her eyes upon realizing Mahomes had left an incredibly generous tip, far beyond the norm. It took her a few seconds to process what was happening. The tip amount was enough to cover nearly all of Ethan's surgery. Emily couldn't hold back her tears. Her hands trembled as she clutched the note to her chest, sobbing with emotion. An unexpected miracle. The commotion drew the attention of other employees and even some customers still in the restaurant. "Emily, what happened?" asked Mr. Davis, concerned. He paid the bill, but the tip." She tried to explain, but the words seemed to catch in her throat. Still emotional, Emily ran to the door and saw Mahomes getting into his car, shouting, "Patrick, thank you, you saved my son." Mahomes looked back, smiled, and made a simple peace and love gesture with his hand, before getting into the vehicle and driving away. Emily returned to the restaurant still crying, but with her heart full of gratitude. A simple meal had transformed her life. Emily's emotions seemed to infect the entire restaurant, the customers, and the coworkers who witnessed the scene. The coworkers who witnessed the scene couldn't stop commenting on Mahomes' generous gesture. Some applauded, while others approached to console Emily, who kept wiping her tears with her apron. "It's a miracle," said Emily. Mr. Davis put a hand on her shoulder. "You deserve every cent of that tip." Despite the festive atmosphere, not everyone was in a good mood. Sarah, another employee at the restaurant, watched the scene from a distance with a look of displeasure. She didn't understand why Mahomes had chosen Emily to receive such generosity. "Seriously, he didn't even notice me, but he left this fortune to Emily just for doing the bare minimum," Sarah muttered to one of her colleagues. Emily, unaware of the criticism, asked Mr. Davis for permission to leave early and handle the hospital paperwork with the money in hand. She knew she could finally pay for the surgery. However, before she could leave, Sarah approached with a tone that mixed irritation and sarcasm. "Congrats, Emily. Looks like good service gets you lottery prizes now. Maybe next time someone will gift me a house." The comment surprised Emily, who looked at Sarah trying to process the unexpected hostility. "Sarah, it's not just about the service. I don't even know how to explain it, but it was an act of kindness, and to be honest, this money is for my son Ethan's surgery. He's in the hospital," responded Emily, keeping her calm. "Sure, always the struggling mother," replied Sarah, crossing her arms. "It's easy to play the victim and win everyone's pity," she continued. The restaurant staff began to notice the argument. Mr. Davis intervened to ask Sarah to speak privately, but she refused and insisted on continuing. "I just think it's unfair. I work just as hard as you, Emily, and I've never had luck in life. It seems only those with personal drama get rewarded." Emily took a deep breath, trying to maintain her composure despite the frustration, not wanting to turn this moment of joy into a fight. "Sarah, I'm really sorry you feel this way. I never asked for anything from anyone, but if you were in my shoes, you'd be grateful too. It wasn't luck, it was a miracle." Emily's words moved some people watching the argument. One of the customers who had witnessed the scene from the beginning stood up and interrupted. "Hey, don't turn this into something negative. Mahomes did it because he saw something special in Emily's service. It was a good gesture, and we can all learn from it." The tense atmosphere began to dissipate, and Sarah, noticing the looks around her, relented. "Fine. I hope this helps your son," she said as she walked toward the back of the restaurant. Emily looked at Mr. Davis, who smiled to encourage her. "Go, Emily. Your son needs you now." With that, Emily left the restaurant and headed to the hospital with the feeling that this money would not only change her life, but also show who she really was. A woman of faith, brave and grateful, with new hope. Emily arrived at the hospital with her heart racing. The money in her purse seemed to weigh more than usual, but this time it was a wait that gave her hope. She rushed into reception and went straight to the customer service desk. "Good afternoon. I've come to pay the expenses for my son Ethan Wilson's surgery," she said with determination. The receptionist, surprised, typed quickly into the system and confirmed the amounts. "Would you like to pay in cash?" the woman asked, looking at her curiously. "Yes, in cash," responded Emily, opening her purse and handing over the money. The feeling of relief was instant, as if a weight had been lifted off her. While waiting for the receipt, Emily looked down the hallway leading to Ethan's room, where he had been hospitalized for weeks, and every day, without surgery, was a battle against time. Now, at last, she could ensure he would receive the treatment he needed. A few minutes later, Dr. Johnson, Ethan's doctor, appeared at reception. He was an experienced man, known for his seriousness, but at that moment his face lit up with a welcoming smile. "Emily, we've just been notified that the expenses have been paid. It's wonderful. We'll schedule the surgery as soon as possible," he said. Emily's eyes filled with tears, and she thanked the doctor repeatedly, trying to express her gratitude between sobs of emotion. "You've saved my son's life. Thank you for not giving up on us." Dr. Johnson simply smiled and placed a hand on her shoulder. "You're an incredible mother, Emily. And now Ethan will have the chance to grow up strong and healthy." Ethan's surgery and a new beginning. The news that the surgery would be scheduled for the next day was absolute relief. Emily rushed to Ethan's room, where she found him playing with a toy car given to him by one of the nurses. "Mom!" shouted Ethan upon seeing her, his smile lighting up the room. Emily knelt beside the bed and hugged him tightly, feeling the purity of the love between mother and son. "My love, everything's going to be okay. They'll operate on you now, and soon we'll be home together." Ethan, who still didn't fully understand what that meant, just smiled and said, "I trust you, Mom." That night, Emily stayed at the hospital with Ethan, praying silently and reflecting on everything that had happened. She remembered Mahomes and the simple yet transformative gesture he had made. An informal meal had completely changed the course of her life. The next morning, the medical team prepared Ethan for surgery. Emily accompanied the process all the way to the operating room door, where she leaned down, kissed his forehead, and whispered words of encouragement. "Mom's here, and so is God. You're very strong, my angel." The following hours were the longest of Emily's life. Sitting in the waiting room, she clung to the note Mahomes had left, using it as an anchor of faith. Other parents looked at her, noticing her mix of nervousness and hope. Finally, Dr. Johnson appeared again, this time with a bigger, almost radiant smile. "Emily, the surgery was a success. Ethan is recovering well." Emily fell to her knees, crying with relief and gratitude. "Thank you, God. Thank you, Doctor. And thank you, Patrick." In the days following the surgery, Ethan began to recover quickly. Every smile, every gesture, and every word he spoke filled Emily's heart with joy. Seeing her son healthy again was the greatest reward she could imagine. Meanwhile, Mahomes Grill was buzzing. Mahomes' generous gesture had gone viral on social media after some customers shared videos and photos of the moment. Many people were moved by Emily's story and her dedication to her son. Mr. Davis, the manager, was proud of her. "Emily, do you know what this story has taught the world? That honest work and faith can transform lives." Emily smiled emotionally, but despite the sudden exposure, she remained the same humble and hardworking person. A few days later, when Emily resumed her routine at the restaurant, she received an unexpected call. "Hello, Emily. This is Tom from Patrick Mahomes' agency. He asked us to reach out to you. He was deeply moved by your story and wants to help you even more." Emily was speechless upon hearing that Mahomes had decided to cover all remaining costs and offer her a small financial assistance to ensure greater stability. That same weekend, Mahomes posted about his experience at the restaurant on social media. "Met an incredible person named Emily, who served me with so much care without knowing who I was, and that inspired me." Let's all remember to help our neighbors, no matter how big or small the help, because every gesture counts. The post went viral and drew more attention to Emily's story. Many people mobilized to offer support and even donations, so that she and Ethan could have a quieter life and a hopeful future. Back at the hospital, Emily reflected on everything that had happened while sitting beside Ethan's bed, where he now played and talked animatedly. She felt a peace she hadn't experienced in a long time. "Mom, are you crying again?" asked Ethan curiously. Emily laughed as she wiped her tears. "Yes, my love, but now they're tears of happiness." For Emily, Patrick Mahomes' gesture was much more than financial help. It was proof that kindness still exists in the world and that sometimes miracles arrive when least expected. That night, as she tucked Ethan in, Emily took out the note she still kept in her purse. "Thanks for the wonderful service. May God bless you and your family." Emily knew those words would always remind her that, even in the darkest moments, light can come from the most unexpected places. "I never asked for a miracle that day. I was just doing my job the best I could, as I always do. But sometimes life surprises you. Sometimes the person who changes everything is sitting right there at your table. Patrick Mahomes didn't just leave a tip that day. He left me hope, and hope changes everything." And you, if you had the chance to transform someone's life, would you do it? Small gestures can make a big difference. Share this story and remember that, sometimes, the simplest things can be the most extraordinary.